Okay.
Well, welcome everybody. We're happy to be here. For us, it's morning. For many of you, it's evening, late evening. And thank you so much. Today, we're going to focus on regret. I find that a fascinating topic. There are so many different ways of looking at regrets that we hold in our hearts and how it creates limitation on our self-acceptance and how it impacts all of our choices as we look back and move forward in our lives. So I am actually going to turn this over to Chris to begin because she was excited to talk about regret today.
Well, welcome everybody, and thanks for, choosing to come and learn about self-love. Just remember that the fundamental thing that we teach all the time is that each of us is perfect. Perfect. Oh, let me mute everybody. We've got a background noise here. It's going to make it hard. Hold on. Let's get everybody muted. Sorry. Okay, I think we're good. Sorry about that. The fundamental foundation of everything is that each of us is God, the simple truth that we're perfect as we are, and every choice and every moment is about how we relate to that truth. So if every moment of your life is perfect as it is, then every judgment of it is a choice. It's just your choice how you're going to relate to that moment. And that's what brings me to want to speak about regret, because I had an experience recently. Most of you know, or some of you know, that Marilyn and I both work in our own company. And as part of that, we interview people to hire them to work for us. And we had an interview recently that brought this topic very powerfully in a way that I could share it with people, because it will help you see an example of how the choices you make in each moment to relate to the moments of your life then determine your experience after that. And for years, I've been working with individuals, and really what the work is about is exactly this. It's about looking at each moment of choice in a person's life to understand how those choices are then creating the experience they're having in all the other moments that follow, because the choice is not about accepting the moment as perfect as it was, not as something that was going to dictate how all the rest of the moments of one's life were going to work. So let me share this experience to help each of you then look at your life. And I chose regret because this example was so powerful for me in this interview process. And it is what I've learned over the years is unknotting the way we make choices and then seeing how they impact our lives is the act of participating in looking at your choices and taking responsibility for them. So let me help you here. So I have this interview. This woman comes in, she's interviewing for a job. It was a normal interview. During the interview process, I asked her a question that I will sometimes ask people who have had a full career. She's had a number of years of work, number of jobs. And so I said to her, which job has been the greatest job for you, the one you enjoyed the most, and why? And which job did you enjoy the least? Because this was going to tell me a lot about where her passion was and what kind of environment she thrived in. And her answer to me was a particular job that she had I'm not remembering exactly, but let's say about 6 to 10 years ago, where she worked in this healthcare unit and she loved it. It was the epitome. When she talked about it, her passion, her joy, her sense of, the things she said, like everybody got along. They were supportive. There was no backstabbing. It was mentally stimulating. It was this wonderful place to work. So of course I wondered, why she left. And she said she just got offered another job and she decided to leave, and she left on her own. She wasn't asked to leave. She left on her own. And the next thing she said to me was the most powerful, because what she said was, I regret leaving that job. I shouldn't have left. And what I knew from the conversation after that was no job since that time was going to live up to that. So essentially, in the choice to relate to that job and say, I regret, what she was saying to her heart was, one, I made a bad choice, so she judged the choice. And two, I shouldn't have done it because nothing is going to be as good as that. And so I, as the interviewer, felt her heart and knew that from there, every job would be compared to that job. And every job will come up as not quite good enough. And that is how our choices work when we make a choice of judgment. In other words, she could have said, even to herself, that one of the choices I made was to leave that job. It was a wonderful job, but it showed me that I could have other wonderful jobs. It just showed me what's out there in the world for me to experience. Not that, oh my God, I had this wonderful thing and I'll never have it again. As the interviewer, I knew we couldn't hire her because we will never measure up until she in her heart embraces that that's one moment. And it was a perfect moment. It was a wonderful moment. It was joyous, but so was the next moment. Because what I always ask people when I interview and I ask them to go through their resume is, why did you choose the jobs you did and why did you choose to leave? Because there was a reason she chose to leave and a reason she chose to go to that next job. There was something perfect there too. But because she doesn't understand how that, as God, she's making that choice to hold that moment with, in such a pinnacle of experience that nothing else will match up to it. She has set herself up for her heart, because this is what we do with our choices, then to reinforce the choice that that job was the greatest job that could ever be. It was the pinnacle. So then she builds what I talk, when I work with people, what I work with them on is showing them, once you make a choice, what you end up doing with your life actions is you build a reinforcing structure for the choice, to reinforce the choice. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy that reinforces to you that, oh yeah, that's right, there's nothing as good as that job, because you've chosen as God, with all the power that you have, to tell your heart there's nothing else that's going to match up to that. And so the work with all of your choices, whatever the type of choice, and it will always be slightly different. Regret sends a certain message. Disappointment sends a different message. Jealousy is a different message. If you think about it, like in this day and age, we have these computer programs. We have Microsoft Word. And within Microsoft Word, it does a lot of different things. It'll format the page for you. You push one button and it'll all come together and it'll let you print it. And that's all these different choices we make. Jealousy and disappointment and regret and joy. And And the one I'm talking to you about in self-love is acceptance of each moment as perfect. Why can't we just choose that? Why? You know? And so that is a guide for you to recognize and honor each moment in the fullness that it offers you, and honor it, and then move into the next one and honor that fully and distinctly as it is. It is no more colored by the one before it or whatever is going to come later. It just is a choice, unless you choose to hold it like that, like she did, with regret. She then basically shifted everything and set in motion a whole path where she is not finding jobs. And the job she finds, my knowing is she will not stay long, because they will disappoint her. They will not meet up to her standard that there's this job she never should have walked away from. And I would say that we do this all the time because no one has taught us. No one has taught us that every moment of life is an act of love. And it's your love, and it's your choice. And it's no better or worse, no matter how you choose it. And it is no more certain to control your future. It is what you choose it to be. And you can use the tool that we have taught, the 3-step process, the giant eraser, and you can embrace every choice you've ever made with love. And you can honor that you chose it as God to learn. And then you can let it go. And you can open yourself up to its opposite, to all that you are, to accept every moment and live it peacefully, joyfully, honoring it in its fullness and accepting it as it is, as perfect, for you to understand what it means to be God. And then live the next moment. And I would say to you all that for me, when I'm sitting there and interviewing someone and having that experience of her heart, I so want, I so want to just have her understand, you know, you can change this choice. You could have another glorious job. You just need to make a different choice. So I share this with all of you so that you may understand how your choices work, because they're so powerful. And if you feel you're stuck in kind of a pattern in life and you can't seem to get out of it, look back to find that root, that moment where you hold on to something like that with regret, and embrace it with love. Let it go, and know that today was about learning. You know, what you've been asking is how to change that pattern, and change the pattern and begin to live a new way. Mare?
As an aside, it makes me laugh thinking about this woman that we interviewed, how odd it must be for people unaware that it is, she is actually interviewing with 2 intuitives. And all the people who come through our office, we know everything right away, if they're going to fit in the job, if they're going to be happy in the job, if they're not going to be happy in the job. It must be a very interesting way in this world for people to not know. And that's our lives, you know, we all know naturally. But to talk about regret, you know, when Chris first put forth this subject, you know, we regret many things in our lives. We regret not going to a different school, or not going to school, or making a poor choice. We regret perhaps who we married or how we spoke to our child. It's from large to small. But the thing about regret is we have them. It's how do we hold on to regrets? that will impact us as we move forward. I have always regretted personally not having gone to law school. And many times I'll say, I should have pursued that path. It would have been difficult, but I should have done it. But then I let it go because I realized then I would be unhappy in whatever else I did other than become an attorney. And that's not the way my life unfolded. And my life unfolded differently and has brought me great joy. It has also brought all the parts of being alive, pain as well, but not because I didn't become an attorney, but we get caught up in that way of looking at the world. So, you know, for each of us, knowing that we've had regret and holding on to it is really the issue at hand. We'll regret something we said to somebody yesterday. That happens. We regret behaving a certain way, or you eat food that doesn't agree with you and you regret that. Those are the small regrets of the world. It's the big ones. It's the holding on to major life choices that rather than accept the fact that without that experience, you would be different than you are today. And who would you be? You are you in this moment in absolute perfection, whether you recognize it or not. And that is the thing, you know, you look in the mirror and you see yourself. What do you see? How do you feel about every part of your world? And are you going to hold on to the regrets of yesterday they brought you here? Or are you going to really come to a place of acceptance of every choice you've made to this moment and then make a decision, a new choice to make changes from this moment forth to bring you to the joy you seek? Because the bottom line is, we all are seeking joy all the time. We are seeking joy, and you can't blame anything that has happened before for not bringing you joy. You bring joy every day, every moment, in every choice you make. And looking back doesn't honor any of us. Looking forward and saying, I think I'm going to take classes in art because I always felt that I have something inside of me that I'd love to portray, and then taking action, not regretting, I should have been a graphic artist. You know, it is what you do from this moment forward that allows you to not live in regret, but live in the anticipation of all possibilities. Are there any thoughts or questions?
I'll jump in, Mary, while people are thinking. You know, you're just mentioning joy, and right recently somebody called me and asked me about what my work is and how I do what I do. And in answering one of her questions, the answer about what self-love is self-love frees us to live in our natural state, which is joy. And I heard myself say it, you know, which is often the case. I consider myself the first listener of this extraordinary but simple truth that each of us is perfect, that each of us is God. We're magnificent as we are. And I heard that and I thought, that is really true. That really what this is about is, you know, learning to embrace with love each thought you've had, each moment you've had, each choice you've had, just like the one we're talking about today here around regret. So embrace it with love as a choice that you made as God, and that it was perfect in the moment you made it. But I often teach people, when you recognize you've made a choice like this woman did, that's now impacting your life years later, It's not to feel bad about the fact you made that choice. It's to recognize it served you for some reason in that moment. But let your heart know you no longer need it to serve you that way. It's okay now. So it's not about looking back and just thinking, oh, I should never have done that. I'm terrible that I thought that way. Not at all. It was serving some purpose in that moment of your life, but you no longer need it to serve you that way. So share that with your heart as you recognize you've made a choice, let's say, to hold on to something with regret. And embrace it with love that you made the choice as God. That's the most important step of everything, is to embrace with love. Give yourself the hug of all that you made that choice. In that moment, it was the perfect choice for you. But then say, but I'm learning from it. I've learned from it now. I don't need to learn this way anymore. So I'm going to release it. And from this moment forward, I'm going to choose, and then choose what will honor you. And in this case, if I was working with this woman who came to interview, I would encourage her to make a different choice that would say, from this moment forward, I choose to honor every moment in every job as having been perfect and always perfect in allowing me to be all that I am to be. So neutralize all the jobs, all the work that you have done in your career as having brought you to where you are and where it might take you in your next step peacefully, joyfully. So embrace with love, and you will take the layers of limitation off of you to experience your natural state, which is joy.
Any questions at all before we start our meditation? All right. Well, it's going to be quite a meditation. I have a plan. So we're going to let go of our regrets. Have a sip of water, make yourselves comfortable. We're going to begin. And I invite you now, please close your eyes. Make yourselves very comfortable where you are. And inhale deeply and hold it. And then when you're ready, blow out that breath, let it go. And once again, inhale deeply, hold it for as long as you can, and release, fully release. Let your body relax. And one more time, we will inhale deeply, and we will hold it and release all thought. And breathe normally. And imagine that you are in a beautiful space, laying on a blanket in a field filled with flowers. There are no allergies here. There is nothing but the sweetness of the smells, the warmth of the sun upon you, and the sounds of the birds singing. It is a beautiful day. Feel the magnificence of the day and your connection to heaven and earth in oneness. And imagine that you slowly rise from this blanket and look around you. You are standing and everywhere the eye can see. You see flowers, color. You smell the beauty of these flowers. You watch the butterflies and the bees as they feed upon the nectar. And in the distance, you notice a building, a home, a structure of one sort or another. For each of us, it will be different. And there is a path that leads you there. Enjoy the walk to this path. Walk slowly, listen to the birds, breathe deeply the air, and feel the light and the heat of the sun upon you as your body allows the energies of universe and earth to come into the oneness of you. You find yourself at the front door of this structure. And on the count of 3, the door will open. Stand there in anticipation for what will come, in peace and acceptance. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, and the door opens. And you step inside, and it is a lovely room as you imagine it to be. And in the middle of the room, there stands this magnificent full-length mirror. I invite you to walk up to the mirror and look upon yourself as you are now. What do you see? Do you see your magnificence? Do you see your beauty? Do you see the light in your own eyes? Do you see a being whose heart is filled with peace and love and joy? And sometimes we feel those things, and sometimes we do not. So today we will journey through our own lives and release those things we hold that create conflict and perhaps pain. Keep looking in the mirror and notice a newborn baby lying in a basket. Imagine you can reach into the mirror and lift this child, and you recognize that it is you. Oh my goodness, hold this child against your heart. Talk to this child with all the love that you have. Tell this child all the things that you've always wished you've been told. Everything you know. And remind this child that it is magnificent and perfect for this new baby is totally God. Feel the love and look into the eyes of this being and fill it. And place this baby back into the basket. And notice instead a child in a powerful moment of your own childhood, struggling with an event or something that was said. And I invite you to speak with this child, for it is you. Put the child on your lap and talk to this child. Tell this child about the perfection of life. and that everything happens for a purpose to allow us to grow and make new choices. Feel the child relax in your arms. Feel the joy of the child come back to itself and become a part of your joy. Love this child in total acceptance. And let the child go with great love and watch it skip away in its joy. And turn around and find a vision of yourself as a teenager on the threshold of choices that perhaps are honoring, perhaps less so. And have a conversation with yourself in these formative years of your life. And explain the magnificence of its being. And that every choice is to be honored equally. Not to judge good or bad, but simply acceptance of each moment. And find yourself as this young teenager, standing taller with shoulders back, looking forward with excitement to what will be, and allow it to be. And now look upon yourself in young adulthood. You have made many choices to this point in your youth. Many choices may have been made for you. Do not look back with regret, but look forward with anticipation of what can be. And explain to your heart, to yourself, that this moment, and every moment will teach you, will bring you to a new point of learning, a new experience that your soul has called forth, and to not regret what has been, but to anticipate with excitement and joy what will be. Talk to yourself as this young person and imagine the possibilities that still lie ahead. And now I bring you into different moments of your own lives, moments that you do hold regret around, and that is okay. Allow yourself to re-experience that moment, whether it was a conversation you had or a choice you made or the way you behaved in a certain moment. Relive it. Relive it, but allow peace to envelop it. There are no mistakes. There are simply choices. And what have you learned from that? As you stare into the mirror at yourself in that moment, ask yourself, what am I learning here? And let it be told to you. Let your heart hear it. And as you listen to yourself and to your heart, choose to honor that choice around which you hold regret and release it fully with acceptance and love and peace. Imagine you can place it in a box and leave it on the other side of the mirror. and let it go. It is time. That moment is no longer unless you hold on to it. And bring forth other moments and do the same. Moments of regret that you have been holding on to, that have limited your joy. Ask, what the purpose? What did I learn from this moment? Listen. And when you're ready, let it go. I will stay silent for another 2 moments. I invite you to feel the lifting of regret from your physical experience, from your heart. Every cell has a memory. Allow every cell to let go as Chris and I continue to work on each of you to help you release. And now I bring you once again back to look upon the mirror in front of you. And I want you to see yourself again as you are now. I want you to acknowledge your power. Acknowledge it. Acknowledge your magnificence. Acknowledge your beauty. Acknowledge your love for yourself as well as others. Acknowledge health. Acknowledge everything you wish to experience in joy. And as you acknowledge it, so it is. And here, from this moment, this mirror can take you wherever you wish to be. What do you see for yourself tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, and forevermore? Visualize the joy. Don't limit it. Let it expand. Visualize the feelings that you want to experience, not the events, because those create limitations. I want to feel filled with joy. I want to feel the energy flow through me always. I want to feel peace in all moments. I want to feel and be the love that I am. That is the future you create for yourself. Not the events, but the feelings that you derive from experiences that you create. The acceptance, the understanding, the learning and the teaching. Don't paint a picture. Create a masterpiece of all colors, all textures, limitless in the joy of just being. Return to this place whenever you need to release something of yourself. But for now, we must leave this lovely place. And the doors close behind us as we exit this building. And you walk along the path to the blanket that you started this journey on in this beautiful field of flowers. And look around at the magnificence of the world and feel the energy of heaven and earth within you. And put yourself upon your blanket as you smell the sweetness of the air, and the butterflies fly and the birds are singing. And when you are ready, return to your home, holding on to this magnificence that is you. And when you are ready, come back, open your eyes. I thank you for sharing this journey with me, with Chris. We are so honored to be with you. Every moment is a moment of magnificence. Live in that. Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you.